Hello, this is Brent Willett. I've got some rampant backgrounds here, and I wanted to go through some of them and maybe give some ideas of how some of them can be used and how some of them fit together. I've grabbed a few from the news collection and the abstract, one of the abstract collections for some of these demonstrations, but many of the things I'm going to be doing here can be applied to almost any of the backgrounds. And I'm working in After Effects, but many of the things I'm going to be doing would apply also to most, if not all, of the NLEs out there. Some fairly basic stuff like some color correction and masking and stuff like that. But to get started here, several of these backgrounds are put together with the idea of being able to add on elements to them. Like this one, for instance, is just kind of a radio background. But there's some other backgrounds, like this one, that could add on to it. So it gives you another element, makes it a little more complicated, more complex, if that's what you're looking for. But a background like this can be perfect for an animated logo. And I just happen to have one of those right here. And we can show maybe something we can do using the background to help the animation along. So I have this Rampant logo animating in, and I want to make this piece here kind of animate in with the logo. So I'm going to start with a transition here, do a linear wipe, and we'll reverse that, and maybe fuzz it out a little bit here. And in this case, since I reversed it, 100% is going to be off screen. So we'll start at the beginning of the timeline, put a keyframe there, and we want it to animate on at the same time that the logo does. So we'll go to the point where the logo is animated on, is all the way on, and we'll animate that background on too. So we see as the logo comes on, the background also has an interesting element that comes onto it. And maybe let's say for this case we don't want the tan so much that maybe it doesn't go with our blue logo. So we'll go to the hue saturation effect. We'll go over here, just type that in. We're going to be coming to this one a lot, so I'm going to type it in over here and leave it here. We'll drop that onto the background, and maybe we'll do a colorize and get kind of a nice blue, maybe kind of a cool looking background. And since we have this background wiping on, we'll see here what it's doing. We need to copy this to the bottom background layer. So we'll copy and we'll paste that. And now we have the same coloring. And there we go. We're pretty much done. We have a nice animation, nice logo reveal animation going on. You can put any logo on top of this, and it kind of looks like it's in a room. Let's move on to another one. Here we have kind of a nice political looking background. And let's say we're a news station and we want to have kind of a cohesive political look. Maybe this by itself would be a great graphic for a monitor behind the talent on the set. Just something with kind of waving flag and moving stars. But let's say we need to have a full screen background with text that we want to have match this look. Well, there's a couple quick things we can do. First, let's duplicate this background. And on this top layer here, let's grab a mask. I'm going to grab one with a rounded edge, and I'm going to turn on my safe title here just to use as a guide. And we'll do that. If we turn off this bottom one, we'll see what we're doing here. And I want to change this to subtract, which will give me kind of a window. And turn this bottom one back on here. And now I want to go to Effect, Color Correction. I'm going to go to Levels because I want to darken this. Make it kind of a darker window so that we can put text over it. So I'll do that. Maybe bring this down a little bit. Make it kind of dark. And I also want to blur this out. I don't want it to be too prominent, so I'll go to Blur. I'll do a fast blur on this. Repeat edge pixels. And soften that up. Now let me turn off my safe title guides there. Another effect I want to do to The top layer with the window is give it some depth, so I'm going to go to perspective and drop shadow. Give it a nice drop shadow here. And already that's starting to look like something. Let me turn off the mask so we can see that a little bit better. And maybe a little bit more depth. We'll go to Effect, Perspective, and do Bevel Alpha. And goose up the thickness on this. And get kind of a nice little bevel there. Now I just happen to have some text already typed up in another comp here. So I'll just bring that in, and so we have a pretty much ready to go full screen background. I'm going to do a couple more things real quick here. Going to add a new solid, make it black. Comp size is fine, but we're going to shrink it down. Drag it under the first layer with the window, and we're going to scale down the Y axis. And bring this up under the title, so we have kind of a title bar. And then maybe say we have our station logo here, and we want to put that down in the corner. Maybe have some branding going on. I can put that down in the corner, and there we have kind of a news look. And we can do, you know, any kind of shape with this mask, anything we want to do. In fact, let's say we want to have this logo not be obstructed by anything. So we'll go to our piece that has our layer that has the window here, and we'll add a new mask. We'll grab the ellipse tool and go down to the logo, and since it's a circle, we'll just make a circle here. And we see that puts a nice little notch in there. Maybe we need to shift our text a little bit now. Maybe shift it over just a little bit, and you know, maybe put a drop shadow on the Rampant logo just to make it pop off a little bit more. Yeah. So there we go. There's a nice political news look. All right, now we'll move on to another scenario here, and here's another one with the idea of building on with the backgrounds, the different backgrounds that build on. We start with just this nice kind of basic background here, but the one that matches it has a little bit more going on and has these kind of boxes moving through. And let's say that we want to highlight these boxes red. So we'll do our color correction, our hue saturation again. Maybe we'll colorize this so that it's red. We'll goose up the saturation here, make it a little bit richer, and then grab a mask. I'm going to shrink this down so I can make a tall mask, and we'll just mask off these boxes, and then maybe blur it out a little bit on the x-axis on the edges here. So now we have kind of a nice red highlight. Now let's say we'd like to have a little bit more of a blue in this background. So once again, we'll highlight the bottom layer, do our hue saturation, and maybe this time all we need to do is just goose up the saturation. It's already a little blue, so we'll just make it more blue. And now we could do something similar here that we did with the last one. Maybe we have kind of a full screen text look. So we can add a new solid, make a comp size, because we're going to shrink it down again. Maybe we're about like that. Bring the transparency down. Maybe we'll try an overlay here, see what that looks like. Yeah, that's kind of nice. And maybe we'll duplicate this again. We'll make it, turn off the overlay, just make it normal, and scale this. Kind of the same idea as last time. Make a title bar out of it. Put it up here somewhere. Bring the opacity up just a little bit, make it darker, and we'll take our full screen text and we can scale this down a little bit, move it around, move it over. Maybe we'll add a drop shadow to this. There. And we have another full screen background. And let's say, I don't know, this seems like this is a little too far over. This is kind of tight and hanging over on the edge here. So maybe we take our red layer, our red highlights, and just kind of move them over a little bit. And the background is just kind of amorphous enough that it the particles that go through will still go through and they'll be just fine. That gives us a little bit more room to move our text over a little bit more, keep it in the safe title. So there we go. We have yet another newsy background. Moving on, keeping on the idea of news, here we have one that's very newsy. Have the world spinning here, and this could be just something as simple as maybe you've put together a full screen overlay in Photoshop. So you already have that ready to go. So we'll just take that, and there's our full screen, and we're done. But let's say we're a news station, and we also want to have a sports look and a weather look. We want to use but they all want them to match. So let's bring in our, let's say we'll do our sports look. So we'll bring in our sports ball of choice here, in which case this case is a basketball. And I'll leave the world turned on for right now. I'll scale up the basketball so it matches the size of the globe. And you can see I have these backgrounds here. This next one is just the exact same thing. It just doesn't have the globe on it. So we can use this background with the basketball. And maybe we'll do an overlay here. And we'll do a hue saturation on the basketball. Colorize it. Give it more of a blue. Make it kind of match here. And now we have a sports look, and so we take our matching sports full screen, and we're pretty much done there. Now we've got our news look and our sports look, and let's say we need to have our weather look now. So we'll turn off our basketball, and we'll just grab some clouds and put this over the background and do a nice overlay on that. Ta-da! Weather look. And we just happen to have our weather full screen right here. Bring that in, and then we have everything that matches. Now let's say maybe in the weather look, all these particles here that were kind of stars in the news look, maybe they look a little bit too much like snow, and we don't want to have snow in our weather look if it's not going to be snowing. So we can go to the other background. You see we have a background here that's just clean. It's once again, it's the exact same thing. It just doesn't have the globe or the particles in it. So in this case, this works perfectly. So now we have our nice clean weather look with the clouds and the weather full screen. All right, and then one last little tidbit here. We have two completely different backgrounds. This one's a radial background, and this one has these nice lines kind of moving through it at an angle. So straight line, angled lines versus radial, and they're completely different colors, so they look nothing alike. But one nice thing about these is you can combine backgrounds and make them your own, make them completely different. Let's say we want to grab a elliptical mask here, kind of mask off this top layer, and we will feather this out. So we have these, almost looks like we have these beams coming out of this spinning radial here. Of course, the colors are a little mismatched here, so we can once again go to our hue saturation and put that on the blue layer. Let's say we like the orange, so we're gonna colorize our blue layer into more of an orange look. So try to get it so it kind of matches here. So we have a completely different look that you can do whatever you want to with. So there's some ideas, some things that you can do with these rampant backgrounds. Hopefully that was helpful, and thanks for watching.